I mean, when people talk about recapping, that can be your
Hmm.
console, your amp. Is that snake oil, or that's actually
No, no,
a
no, it's
real thing?
important.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, capacitors
Hmm.
have a sound,
Right.
uh, and and they and the type of capacitor you use is it affects the sound tremendously.
Right.
Um, so, obviously, recapping an old amp that has bad caps in it is
Hmm.
absolutely crucial.
Right. Right.
Like coupling caps, like and I mean, people came to me all the time, with old Foxes and whatever, and they said, "Oh yeah, but don't change anything," and it sounds awesome, but don't change anything, but
Hmm.
fix it. And I'm like, well, if it's so awesome, then why did you bring it to me? And the whole point is, but also, I have to say that even though, of course, I can understand why people are so precious about it, because of all the collectible value and all the hype and everything.
Right.
But if a capacitor is supposed to, like a coupling cap, like which passes the signal from. See, if you take the signal from a gain stage,
Hmm.
all right, when it appears on the output on the plate of that tube, it you gotta take the signal off of that somehow, right?
Right.
Now the signal is riding on top of very high, what they call the B plus the operating voltage, the DC,
Right.
that makes the tube work. So the signal is superimposed onto that. The capacitor takes it, it blocks the DC from coming through the capacitor, and only the AC part, the signal
Right.
part of the, passes through to the next stage. At that point, you can influence the frequency, because caps like to pass high end.
Hmm.
So if you want to pass more low end through a cap, you need a bigger value cap.
Right.
So if you want to lose bottom end out of a stage, you can do that by you choosing a smaller value cap.
Right. Interesting.
Um, so now, if you have a cap that's leaking, which you have in old amps, or like those yellow Astrons that you find in most old Tweed amps,
Hmm.
I've never seen one that wasn't leaking.
Right.
And by leaking, I mean the DC that it's supposed to block off the one side is coming through,
Ah, I see.
and it's coming through along with the signal.
Hmm.
Now, when it hits the next stage is set up. It's got its own bias scheme, right? That it's so with no signal applied, that tube is balanced at
Right.
a certain operating point. That when the signal comes in, it can deal with it and do its thing. Um, if you have a lot of DC coming through there along with the signal, it it messes with the bias
Right.
and throws everything off, and then you get like crazy random sounding amp. That. Uh, so everyone who came to me who said don't change anything, like ever, uh, it, when they got the amp back and I'd done, I changed the caps and made it good.
Hmm.
They all said, "Oh my God, it sounds so much better now." They
Yeah.
so even though they said don't change anything because it sounds so good, they always appreciated and heard it too.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it wasn't us, so um so I think it's yeah, it's not
Yeah.
it's definitely I mean, it's not magic or anything. It's just
Sure.
like, making things good when they're not good.